Imagine walking into a room filled with the quiet concentration of a chess club, the soft clicks of pieces being moved across checkered boards, and the occasional whispered check. That's where our story begins. A story about Alex, a shy, introverted college student who preferred the comfort of video games and strategy guides to social interactions. Alex had always found solace in the digital world, where mistakes could be undone with a simple reload, and awkward conversations didn't exist. But there was something about the chess club that had caught his attention. Perhaps it was the strategic nature of the game that appealed to his analytical mind. Or maybe it was something else entirely. Something, or rather someone, he hadn't expected to find. That someone was Jamie, the charismatic captain of the chess club, whose reputation preceded him across campus. Jamie wasn't just known for his exceptional chess skills, but also for his warm smile, his ability to make anyone feel welcome, and the way he could explain complex chess strategies with such passion that even complete beginners found themselves drawn into the game. Jamie had a way of commanding attention without seeking it, a natural confidence that Alex both envied and admired from afar. Our story unfolds at Westfield University, a mid-sized college known for its beautiful brick buildings and sprawling green spaces. The chess club met every Wednesday evening in the basement of the Student Union building, a cozy space with large windows that let in just enough natural light during the day and warm, amber lamps that created a comfortable atmosphere in the evening. The club wasn't particularly large, about 15 regular members, but what it lacked in numbers, it made up for in dedication and community spirit. For many of its members, the chess club was more than just a place to play a game. It was a sanctuary, a place where they could be themselves without judgment. Let me take you to that fateful day when Alex finally gathered enough courage to push open the heavy wooden door of the chess club room. The air was thick with concentration, and Alex's heart pounded so loudly in his chest that he was certain everyone could hear it. His palms were sweaty, and he considered turning around and leaving before anyone noticed him. But before he could retreat, a voice called out, warm and inviting. "Hey there, are you here for chess club?" And that's when Alex first laid eyes on Jamie, with his tousled brown hair and bright, intelligent eyes that seemed to see right through him. Alex managed to stammer out a response, something about being new and not really knowing how to play very well. He expected dismissal, perhaps a polite suggestion to watch from the sidelines. But instead, Jamie's face lit up with genuine enthusiasm. "That's perfect. We love teaching new players. Come on over. I'll show you the basics." And just like that, Alex was pulled into Jamie's orbit, a place he would soon find himself unable and unwilling to leave. What struck Alex immediately was Jamie's patience. As they sat across from each other at a small table in the corner, Jamie carefully explained each piece, its movement patterns, and strategic value. He didn't rush or show any signs of frustration when Alex asked the same questions multiple times. Instead, he seemed to enjoy the teaching process, his eyes lighting up whenever Alex grasped a new concept. "Chess isn't just about knowing the rules," Jamie explained, setting up the board for a demonstration. "It's about thinking several moves ahead, understanding your opponent, and sometimes taking calculated risks." There was something in the way Jamie's fingers moved the pieces across the board, confident yet gentle, that captivated Alex's attention. The hour passed quickly, and before Alex knew it, other club members were packing up to leave. "Same time next week?" Jamie asked, and Alex found himself nodding without hesitation. It was the beginning of what would become their weekly ritual, a chess lesson that would gradually evolve into something much more meaningful. As weeks turned into months, Alex's chess skills improved steadily under Jamie's guidance. Their Wednesday evening sessions became the highlight of Alex's week, something he looked forward to with an excitement that surprised him. Jamie was an excellent teacher, but more than that, he was becoming a friend. Their conversations gradually extended beyond chess strategy to include their studies, their families, their hopes for the future. Alex learned that Jamie was majoring in literature with a minor in mathematics, a combination that perfectly reflected his balanced nature, his appreciation for both art and logic. "You're getting really good," Jamie commented one evening, after Alex successfully executed a complex strategy they had been practicing. "You have a natural talent for this." The compliment sent a warm flush across Alex's cheeks, and he ducked his head to hide his smile. It wasn't just the praise that affected him. It was the genuine pride in Jamie's voice, as if Alex's success was somehow his own as well. Their chess sessions often ran late, sometimes until the student union staff politely reminded them that the building was closing. On those nights, they would walk across campus together, continuing their conversations under the stars. It was during one such walk that Jamie first touched Alex's arm to emphasize a point he was making, a casual gesture that sent an electric current through Alex's body. The touch lingered just a moment longer than necessary, and when Alex glanced up, he caught Jamie looking at him with an expression he couldn't quite decipher. These moments began to accumulate, a lingering touch here, a prolonged gaze there, inside jokes that no one else understood. Alex found himself analyzing these interactions the way he would analyze a chess position, looking for patterns, trying to predict what might come next. But unlike chess, the rules of this game weren't clear, and Alex was terrified of making the wrong move. "Have you ever played in a tournament?" Jamie asked one day, as they were setting up the board for their weekly game. Alex shook his head, the mere thought sending a wave of anxiety through him. "There's one coming up next month at State College. You should consider entering. I think you're ready." The confidence Jamie had in him was both flattering and terrifying. The idea of playing chess in front of strangers, with Jamie watching, was enough to make Alex's stomach tie itself in knots. "I don't think I'm good enough yet," Alex protested, but Jamie wouldn't hear it. "You're better than you give yourself credit for," he insisted, his eyes holding Alex's gaze with such intensity that Alex couldn't look away. "Besides, I'll help you prepare. We can practice more often, maybe even on weekends if you're free." The prospect of spending more time with Jamie was tempting enough that Alex found himself agreeing, despite his reservations. What followed were weeks of intensive chess training. Jamie would come to Alex's apartment on Saturday afternoons, bringing coffee and pastries from the campus cafe. They would spend hours going over strategies, analyzing famous games, and playing practice matches. Jamie was a different teacher in these sessions, more focused, more demanding, but also more open. He shared stories about his own tournament experiences, including his failures and how he learned from them. "The first time I played in a tournament, I was so nervous that I knocked over half the pieces while making a move," Jamie confessed, laughing at the memory. "My opponent was this stern older man who looked at me like I was the most incompetent player he'd ever seen. I was so flustered that I lost in 12 moves." The story made Alex feel better about his own anxieties, and he found himself sharing fears he normally kept hidden. "I'm not just worried about losing," Alex admitted one evening, as they were packing up the chess set. "I'm worried about disappointing you. After all the time you've spent teaching me." The words hung in the air between them, more vulnerable than Alex had intended. Jamie's expression softened, and he moved closer, his hand coming to rest on Alex's shoulder. "You could never disappoint me," Jamie said, his voice low and sincere. "I'm already proud of you for taking this risk." Their eyes met, and for a moment, Alex thought Jamie might say something more, might lean in closer. But then Jamie's phone buzzed with a text message, breaking the spell, and the moment passed. As the tournament approached, Alex's anxiety grew, manifesting in sleepless nights and distracted days. His roommate noticed his preoccupation and teased him about it. "You're thinking about chess, or are you thinking about the chess captain?" he asked with a knowing smirk. The question hit too close to home, forcing Alex to confront the feelings he'd been trying to ignore. Yes, he was nervous about the tournament, but he was even more concerned about what Jamie meant to him, and what he might mean to Jamie. The night before the tournament, Alex could barely eat, his stomach a knot of nerves. Jamie had texted him words of encouragement throughout the day, but they did little to calm his racing thoughts. What if he made a fool of himself? What if Jamie realized he'd wasted his time teaching someone with no real talent? What if this tournament somehow changed things between them? The morning of the tournament dawned bright and clear, a perfect spring day that seemed at odds with Alex's stormy emotions. He arrived at State College an hour early, as Jamie had suggested, and found the venue already buzzing with activity. Chess players of all ages were setting up boards, reviewing notes, or simply sitting in quiet meditation, preparing mentally for the matches ahead. Alex spotted Jamie across the room, engaged in conversation with one of the tournament organizers. Even from a distance, Jamie exuded confidence, his posture relaxed, his smile easy. When he caught sight of Alex, that smile widened, and he excused himself to make his way over. "You made it," Jamie said, his relief evident. For a minute there, I was worried you might change your mind. I considered it, Alex admitted, trying to smile despite his nerves. Several times, actually. On the bus ride here, I almost asked the driver to turn around. Jamie laughed, the sound warm and reassuring, and some of Alex's tension eased. Jamie led him through the registration process, explaining the tournament structure and rules, his presence a steady anchor in the sea of unfamiliar faces and procedures. The tournament began with a brief welcome speech, and then players were directed to their assigned tables for the first round. Alex was paired against a middle-aged woman with a serious expression and quick, decisive movements. As he sat down across from her, Alex felt a moment of panic. But then he caught sight of Jamie, standing at the edge of the playing area, giving him a thumbs up and a confident nod. Taking a deep breath, Alex focused on the board before him, recalling Jamie's advice. Trust your instincts, and remember, it's just a game. The first match was a blur of concentration and calculated moves. Alex lost, but not as quickly or decisively as he had feared. His opponent complimented his defensive strategy afterward, which boosted his confidence for the second round. Between matches, Jamie was there with water, encouragement, and quick analysis of what had worked and what hadn't. "You're doing great," Jamie assured him. "Better than I did in my first tournament, that's for sure." As the day progressed, Alex found himself relaxing into the rhythm of the tournament. He won his second match, lost his third, and then faced a crucial fourth round that would determine whether he advanced to the next day of competition. His opponent was a young man about his age, with a reputation for aggressive play and psychological tactics. Before the match began, Jamie pulled Alex aside for a quick pep talk. "He's going to try to rush you, make you feel pressured," Jamie warned. "Don't let him. Take your time with each move, think it through. You've got this." The confidence in Jamie's voice was contagious, and Alex felt a surge of determination as he took his seat at the board. The match was intense from the beginning. Alex's opponent played quickly, as Jamie had predicted, his hand slamming the chess clock after each move. But Alex remembered Jamie's advice and refused to be hurried. He considered each position carefully, planning his strategy several moves ahead. The game stretched on, becoming one of the longest of the round. A small crowd gathered to watch, including Jamie, whose eyes never left the board. In the end, it came down to a complex endgame situation. Alex's heart was racing as he analyzed the position, knowing that his next few moves would determine the outcome. He glanced up briefly and caught Jamie's gaze. Jamie gave him a subtle nod, a silent message of trust and belief. Drawing a deep breath, Alex made his move, setting in motion a sequence that would either lead to victory or defeat. 3 moves later, his opponent's king was trapped. "Checkmate," Alex said quietly, almost in disbelief. His opponent stared at the board in shock before extending his hand in grudging respect. As Alex stood up, slightly dazed by his victory, he was enveloped in a tight hug. Jamie had rushed over, his face alight with pride and joy. "I knew you could do it," he whispered, his breath warm against Alex's ear. "I knew it from the first day you walked into chess club." The hug lasted longer than was strictly necessary, and when they finally pulled apart, Alex noticed a different kind of intensity in Jamie's eyes. Something unspoken passed between them, a recognition of feelings that went beyond chess mentor and student, beyond even friendship. But before either could address it, they were surrounded by other club members offering congratulations, and the moment was lost in the celebration. Alex's victory meant he would advance to the next day of competition, an achievement neither of them had really expected. As the excitement of the day began to wind down, Jamie suggested they get dinner to celebrate. "My treat," he insisted. "You've earned it." They found a small Italian restaurant near the college, quiet enough for conversation, but with an atmosphere that felt special, celebratory. Over pasta and wine, Jamie insisted they were allowed to bend the rules just this once. They talked about the tournament, analyzing Alex's matches and discussing strategy for the next day. But as the meal progressed, their conversation drifted to more personal topics. Jamie spoke about his family, his childhood love of chess nurtured by a grandfather who had been a master player. Alex shared stories about growing up as an only child, finding companionship in books and games rather than with peers. "I've always felt more comfortable in worlds I can control," Alex admitted, twirling pasta around his fork. "Video games, books, They're predictable in a way that people aren't. Jamie nodded in understanding, his expression thoughtful. And yet here you are, playing tournament chess, which is all about adapting to an opponent you can't control, he pointed out. That takes courage. The word hung between them, weighted with meaning. Courage. Was that what Alex needed now? As he looked at Jamie across the table, feeling the pull of attraction and the fear of rejection in equal measure? The candlelight caught in Jamie's eyes, turning them to liquid gold, and Alex found himself unable to look away. There's something I've been wanting to tell you, Jamie said suddenly, his voice dropping to a near whisper. Something that has nothing to do with chess. Alex's heart began to race, his mind filling with possibilities, hopes, fears. But before Jamie could continue, the waiter appeared with dessert menus, breaking the moment. Jamie sighed, a mix of frustration and amusement crossing his features. Maybe later, he said, with a small smile that promised this conversation wasn't over. They returned to their respective accommodations that night. Alex to a budget hotel room arranged by the chess club, Jamie to a friend's apartment near campus. Get some rest, Jamie advised, as they parted ways. Tomorrow's going to be even more challenging. But sleep eluded Alex, his mind replaying the day's events, particularly that unfinished conversation at dinner. What had Jamie wanted to tell him? And why did it feel so monumentally important? The second day of the tournament was indeed more challenging, the competition fiercer, as only the strongest players remained. Alex faced opponents with years more experience, and though he fought hard, he was eliminated in the quarterfinals. Rather than disappointment, however, he felt a strange sense of accomplishment. 6 months ago, he wouldn't have even considered entering a chess tournament. Now he had advanced further than anyone, including himself, had expected. Jamie was waiting for him when he exited the playing area after his final match. You were amazing, Jamie said, with such genuine admiration that Alex couldn't help but smile despite his loss. Seriously, do you have any idea how impressive it is to make it to the quarterfinals in your first tournament? The praise warmed Alex from the inside out, chasing away any lingering regret about his elimination. As they left the venue together, Jamie suggested they take a walk around the State College campus before heading back to Westfield. It's a beautiful day, and I think we could both use some fresh air after being cooped up inside all weekend. The campus was indeed lovely, with ancient oak trees and flowering shrubs lining winding pathways. They walked in comfortable silence for a while, shoulders occasionally brushing, until Jamie led them to a secluded bench overlooking a small pond. So, about what I wanted to tell you last night, Jamie began, once they were seated. Alex's pulse immediately quickened, and he found himself holding his breath. Jamie turned to face him, their knees almost touching. I've been planning this for a while now, trying to find the right moment, the right words. He paused, running a hand through his hair in a rare display of nervousness. The truth is, Alex, teaching you chess was never just about chess for me. Alex's mind raced, trying to interpret what Jamie was saying, afraid to hope but unable to stop himself. Jamie continued, his voice growing more confident with each word. From that first day, when you walked into the club looking so nervous and determined at the same time, I was drawn to you. I wanted to know you, to spend time with you. Chess was just my excuse. An excuse? Alex echoed, his voice barely audible over the pounding of his heart. Jamie nodded, a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. I could have assigned you to any of our experienced players for lessons, but I selfishly kept you for myself. Every week, I looked forward to our sessions more than anything else. And as I got to know you, your humor, your intelligence, your quiet strength, what started as attraction became something much deeper. Jamie reached out, tentatively taking Alex's hand in his. I guess what I'm trying to say, rather badly, is that I have feelings for you, Alex. Feelings that go far beyond friendship or chess mentorship. The words hung in the air between them, a confession that changed everything and nothing at the same time, because deep down, Alex had known. Perhaps he had known from the beginning. I have feelings for you too, Alex admitted, his voice steadier than he expected. I think I have for a while now. I just didn't know if you felt the same way, or if I was misreading things. Relief and joy spread across Jamie's face, making him look younger, more vulnerable than Alex had ever seen him. You weren't misreading anything, Jamie assured him, squeezing his hand. If anything, I was worried I was being too obvious. They laughed then, the tension of unspoken feelings finally broken. Jamie's thumb traced circles on the back of Alex's hand, a small gesture that sent shivers up his arm. "So what happens now?" Alex asked, suddenly aware that they were entering uncharted territory. Jamie's expression turned serious, thoughtful. "Now, if you're willing, I'd like to take you on a proper date. No chessboards, no tournament pressure. Just us, getting to know each other in this new context." The idea was both thrilling and terrifying. Dating Jamie would mean stepping completely out of his comfort zone, being vulnerable in ways that Alex had always avoided. But hadn't he already done that, competing in the tournament? Hadn't he already trusted Jamie with parts of himself that he rarely showed others? "I'd like that," Alex said finally, his decision made. "I'd like that very much." Jamie's smile was radiant, lighting up his entire face. He leaned forward slightly, his intention clear in his eyes. "There's something else I've been wanting to do," he murmured, his gaze dropping briefly to Alex's lips. "Something I've been planning for almost as long as this conversation." Alex's breath caught in his throat as Jamie moved closer, closing the distance between them. The kiss was gentle at first, a question rather than a demand. But when Alex responded, leaning into the contact, Jamie's hand came up to cup his cheek, deepening the kiss with a confidence that made Alex's head spin. It was everything a first kiss should be, sweet, a little awkward, and full of promise. When they finally pulled apart, both slightly breathless, Jamie rested his forehead against Alex's. "Checkmate," he whispered, with a playful smile that made Alex laugh. "You planned that all along, didn't you?" Alex accused, though there was no real reproach in his voice. Jamie nodded, unrepentant. "From the moment you walked into chess club?" "Not exactly, but I've been working up to it for weeks now. The tournament just gave me the perfect opportunity and the courage to finally make my move." The chess metaphor wasn't lost on Alex, and he marveled at how perfectly it fit their situation. Jamie had indeed been thinking several moves ahead, just as he'd taught Alex to do on the chessboard. They spent the rest of the afternoon talking, planning, sharing stories they hadn't dared to before. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the campus, they reluctantly acknowledged it was time to head back to Westfield. On the bus ride home, Alex rested his head on Jamie's shoulder, their fingers intertwined. It felt right, as if they had been doing this for years rather than hours. In the weeks that followed, Alex and Jamie's relationship blossomed. Their chess lessons continued, but they were different now, punctuated by kisses, filled with playful banter that often had little to do with the game at hand. They went on those proper dates Jamie had promised, dinners, movies, long walks through the city. Alex introduced Jamie to his favorite video games, and Jamie shared his love of classic literature, reading poetry aloud as they lay on the grass in the campus quad. The chess club members noticed the change in their dynamic, of course. Some had suspected it all along and were merely happy their captain had finally made his move. Others were surprised but supportive. A few made good-natured jokes about Jamie's teaching methods, suggesting he offers special lessons to more club members. Jamie took the teasing in stride, his arm around Alex's shoulders, his happiness too complete to be dimmed by a few comments. As their relationship deepened, Alex found himself changing in ways he hadn't expected. He became more confident, not just in chess, but in all aspects of his life. He spoke up more in classes, made new friends, even joined Jamie in organizing a charity chess tournament for the local children's hospital. Jamie, too, seemed to flourish, his natural charisma enhanced by the contentment he found in their relationship. 1 year after that fateful tournament, they celebrated with a private chess match in the same spot where they had shared their first kiss. The game was competitive but lighthearted, both of them too distracted by memories to focus completely on strategy. "Do you realize," Jamie said, as he captured one of Alex's knights, "that if you hadn't walked into chess club that day, none of this would have happened?" Alex considered this as he studied the board. "I almost didn't," he admitted. "I stood outside the door for 10 minutes, trying to work up the courage to go in." Jamie looked up, surprised. "Really? I never knew that." Alex nodded, moving his bishop to threaten Jamie's queen. "I was terrified, but something told me I needed to take that risk, that something important was waiting for me inside." Jamie's expression softened, his eyes filled with a tenderness that still made Alex's heart race. "I'm glad you listened to that voice," he said quietly, "because something important was waiting for you." I was waiting, even if I didn't know it yet. He moved his queen out of danger, but in doing so, left his king vulnerable. Alex saw the opening immediately and moved his rook into position. Check, he said, unable to keep the triumph from his voice. Jamie studied the board, a slow smile spreading across his face as he realized his position was indefensible. And made in 3 moves, he acknowledged, tipping over his king in surrender. You've gotten too good. I've created a monster. Alex laughed, reaching across the board to take Jamie's hand. You taught me well, he said, in chess and in life. As the sun set behind them, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, Jamie leaned across the chessboard, careful not to disturb the remaining pieces. I love you, he said simply, the words they had exchanged countless times over the past year still carrying the same weight, the same wonder. Alex met him halfway, their lips finding each other with the ease of practice and the excitement of discovery. I love you too, he whispered against Jamie's mouth. Checkmate. And in that moment, with the chess pieces as their witnesses and the memory of their journey together surrounding them, Alex knew that some games were worth playing, not for the victory, but for the joy of the match itself. Chess had brought them together, but what kept them together was something far more powerful than strategy or skill. It was love, pure and simple, the most complex and rewarding game of all. Total _char_count, 17,936.